On this episode, Grace and I talk about how to achieve perfection, catching up with old friends, and the secret to everlasting joy. Hello and welcome to the Straight Shot Post podcast. I'm your host, Frank De La Arroyo, CEO of Straight Shot Post and Straight Shot Studios. Alongside with me is my constant co-host, Grace Santos. Grace, we messed up this intro once. Never again.
Never. Always perfect. And that is the core value of the company.
Yeah. Always perfect. Unnecessary pressure.
Imagine.
Somebody must have that core value and they're stupid.
Yeah. That's terrifying.
Maybe that's the trick, though. Maybe that's all we need in life is for people to actually just force perfectionism, and then eventually everybody else will die and maybe a few people are actually perfect, you know?
But if you're like forcing perfectionism, I feel like before you reach that, you're just gonna like cripple under the stress of never even getting close to it.
Yeah, you know what else, too? That means that the person who's setting it out has to define what perfect actually is.
Right.
Which is in its own thing. I mean, that's just define perfect, Grace.
Like you never mess up? But then
what's messing up?
Messing up is like subjective, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I feel like I could figure out I could see the ideal, like the perfect whatever it is that I'm doing.
But it's your opinion, right?
That's true.
Unless it's
true.
math.
I mean, it's like making sure that this happens before this and it has this. You know, I don't know. I feel like it could be pretty perfect in my head, but again, like that may not be perfect to you. Then it's like, what's the point? That's so hard. This is so theoretical.
Until we can start cloning ourselves and modeling more AI after us, because that is when you say perfect, we could get to a place where, because this is what I'm thinking, what I've been looking into this week, of course, is more stuff about AI storytelling, but basically a bit of our strategy here, for those who are interested, is we're going to be starting to work on illustrated works, building up to animation and things like that. And I think the idea here is we're going to use Midjourney for inspiration. We have an artist who's awesome too. We use Midjourney for inspiration. Then we have our artist lock in and develop the characters in the world. And then what we're going to be able to do is train models based off of that work so that it can accelerate the process. Because how many times is he going to have to draw a close-up of a character in 3 years of content, right? Many, many times. But if the AI can just pump out a lot of those basic frames, or at least give us a big head start, it's just going to accelerate the process, make his life a lot easier, because honestly, the demands of the content are kind of high if you want to be at a professional level, and we don't get a full team like everybody else, but we still want people to feel that level of professionalism. So anything that can help give us an edge, we're going to utilize. But yes, technically perfect might just be not making mistakes defined by us, the creators. And in that regard, if we can then train an AI model to replicate what is good work from our artists, and theoretically there at least won't be any mistakes. And that in itself could take us further and faster than we thought.
I don't think we need to have this podcast anymore.
I know.
Like you solved it.
Grace loves a phrase of mine where I say that's why they pay me the little bucks, because I make the least out of anybody at the company. Yeah.
I don't know why it's the phrasing of like little bucks. It sounds funny too. It's great.
So yes,
I'm feeling fatigued. I don't know. I mean, I guess last night I was at a friend's house and we watched Encanto, and it was my first time watching it. I've heard the songs, but it's great when I know the songs and I watch the movie and I'm like singing along already the first watch. Yeah, that was fun. That's how it be with musicals too, when I go see a musical. Anyway, and it was like a pizza and drinks and chill night, but I mean, I had pizza and I had like 2 drinks, and I know my limit. We were just so chill, and I know my limits, and I wasn't trying to get plastered drunk. I think I've only been like plastered drunk once, and then I was like, never again. I don't like that. I don't know. I have friends who do it every like week, and I'm like, my body can't handle that. My friends call me a grandma for it. But anyway, yeah, last night was so chill, and like I went home and like I drank my water, and then I was like on the phone with my friend, and I was like all fine. And then I wake up in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. with a outrageous stomach ache, and then I couldn't sleep well. And yeah, and so like I couldn't eat this morning really, and then I didn't have my coffee, so I just feel so whack. It's amazing forgetting how reliant I am on my routine.
Yes, of
my
course,
routine.
man.
Yeah, and it knocked me out. So yeah, it doesn't feel great.
And also, because I had been having some stomach issues in the past year, I tried cutting caffeine out because I used to take a caffeine pill in the morning with my breakfast as a pre-workout. And I have not having the caffeine has made a very positive impact on my digestion. But then, yes, it feels that way.
Okay.
But of course, I'm tired. So it's very,
maybe
very
that's what it is. You were talking about how you were tired last week. I mean, we can talk
I'm
about
probably just adjusting to it, My
yeah.
guess.
Are you still tired this week? Was it like a tiring week?
I mean, you're talking to me now towards the end of the day on Friday. So kind of,
Yes.
but this week I had more energy in general than I did last week. I also think I was sleeping a little better this week.
Okay.
But this morning's workout was one of those where I was like, really, really didn't want to work out, and I was just sitting here like fall asleep. Yeah, just
But don't you feel so after those kind of workouts are my favorite, where I come out and I'm like, I did that. I could do anything.
Sometimes I feel like that, but now I've done it enough times where I'm just like, man, I just came out of the workout like, oh, man. That's how I don't even know. That's like, that's it. I was like, and I'm in the shower. At least I had a good idea in the shower, but like, I was just like, yes, it's not always fun. It's not always euphoric, but like,
no.
I literally had to make my standing desk stand so I could like get up, and then I just paced around the room, and I put on the angriest music I could put on, and then eventually I just dragged my ass upstairs to work out. Like, it took a lot this time, but that's what it happens.
Maybe that's the pro tip of the week.
I want to know
what.
Well, I want to know what you thought of Encanto.
Oh, it was so great. The first, I remember when it first came out, seeing this video of this, little Brazilian girl who looked exactly like the main character being like, oh my God, it's me. And that made me so happy, the representation. I was like, oh, that's adorable. And I thought it was great. I mean, everyone compares it to Coco, and I think we all agreed that Coco is better in that
thank God, I would have killed you.
What if I said it was worse?
Yeah, I wasn't I mean, it was fine. I wasn't blown away wow, this is so good.
By which one?
Encanto.
Oh, exactly.
Coco.
Yeah.
Coco got me.
No, but that's why Encanto. I mean, I was expecting a lot, but it was
To be fair, though, on Coco, Grace, it was about I have a folk singer grandfather, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was just all too much. But yeah, sorry, go on. So yeah,
I thought it was cool that they did a movie about Colombia, though, because I feel like they're always Latin movie Mexico. But I liked that they did Colombia. But I don't really have that many lasting impressions. The songs were bangers. I had fun. But I mean, I was like...
I'm not a musical guy.
So cool.
I'm not a musical guy either.
Okay.
I will say that too. And I think I guess at this point it was just
the story.
Very typical Disney-ish, I just didn't, you know what I mean? That's all. I was just another Disney movie. Maybe if I wasn't somewhat, because I'm Latin, so it wasn't as... I actually prefer watching other stuff that I have no idea, cultures I really don't know anything about. I don't prefer to watch something that's I'm familiar with, where I'm like, yes, there's Latin people doing Latin things. I know what, yep, I got you. I get it. Oh, I get that. Oh, yes, the really strong cousin and the really cousin. And oh, yes, I know these characters. That was it. It wasn't, but that's probably, that's all, I guess. So to me, I think it was just a decent movie, but
yeah.
I also think for me that weekend it was overshadowed because I also saw the new Pinocchio movie.
How was that?
Guillermo's, it's just magical, and it was refreshing in a different way because the animation was so different because it was stop motion, right? That it just had a very different vibe that I did feel more oh, this is different and I haven't seen it before. Felt fresh. So maybe there's a couple of things that went into it, but there are some people that love Encanto so much that I'm just
Yeah, I know. I had friends tell me that I'm going to cry watching it, and I didn't remotely. I feel like it flowed by.
What would make you cry in that movie?
I don't, the grandma showing love. I don't know what I would cry about.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that the grandma is the bad guy in that movie, too, which, is a cool idea, totally.
Yeah.
But my grandmother's perfect, so,
I can't relate. I also watched Minari this weekend, last week. Yeah. Did you watch that?
I have seen Minari.
It was funny. I shared this with my What I Learned, but I don't think you were in my group. Well, okay, for context, at SSP we have every Monday morning we all get together with the whole team and share something we learned that week as like a team bonding exercise, because that is what you do when you're a remote company. So I watched Minari, and it was funny because there were some really specific things that made me like my heart stop. Like the little boy being so rude to the grandma. I was like, that is me. Like I did that. Like anytime my grandma came from Japan and she would like take care of me, I would pull her hair. I would like hurt her. I was a demon. Like I don't know what was coming over me, why I did that. But I like, and then them being like, oh, you're not a real grandma, you don't make cookies. And like everything was, I related to it so much. And it was an interesting thing of like, because when I watch movies, Western movies, usually it's like the white family is what feels like home. And then if you see like an Asian family doing their Asian thing, that feels foreign. But with this movie, I mean, it felt like the Asian family felt like home. And then anytime a white person came in, it felt foreign. And I almost, it's weird. This might be artsy, but I almost wanted to like feel like that Asian family. I had parts where I felt like it was home, but also I was like, this is the plight of being biracial, where it's like, I'm like, yes, I relate to this like so hard, but like not as hard as I did to like, the only thing I thought of was Pen 15, where, you know, there's a girl who's half white, half Japanese, which is really on the nose for me, pretty on the nose for me. So yeah, so it was like an interesting, I mean, because all my Asian friends were like, you have to watch it, so much representation, it's gonna be awesome. And then I did watch it, but then I was like, oh yeah, and then it left me really sad. The ending, I was just like, that's the end. Yeah. Oh god. So anyway, yeah, that was my experience.
Interesting. Yeah, I saw it during the run like last year when I was just, which I guess that's coming up again. It's sort of doing the Oscar run, catching up on all the movies that are nominated and all that. And I do think that, I mean, just for me, I think watching movies is different than it is. Not for, I mean, what I'm saying is that when I watch a movie, a lot of like I said, I don't get a kick out of seeing myself on screen. Necessarily, because I'm watching it for like story. Like I'm way more of a plot person than I am a character person. Breaking Bad is always going to probably be my favorite show. Last year I thought The Power of the Dog was a masterpiece, and yet I know that it's very slow and boring, right? So I'm not expecting a mass audience to love it, but what I appreciate is like that movie is what it should be for what it's attempting to do. I don't know. Well, I'm sure that makes sense because you're here with Puzzle Piece, but like
is what it should be because
correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the movie's correct, I think.
Yeah.
Like pretty much every choice is right for like what the movie is. Yeah.
Your taste, even if it's not your taste, like it's.
Yes, yeah, which it ended up being my taste because of the high level of craftsmanship. Essentially, basically what I'll say is like watching that movie, the movie doesn't really reveal itself until it ends. And then you're like, wow, now I know what the whole like, now I get why the beginning was the way it was and like why it needed to be so slow, why the world mattered so much, and why, because you know what I mean? Like the whole thing has this eerie tone the whole time. And you kind of don't really get it for a long time. And you don't understand necessarily why certain people are necessarily the way they are. The revealing of it, the unpeeling of the layers, which again happens when the movie's over, you start to think about the movie. That's kind of what I mean. In today's world, I understand if people just didn't make it. I actually didn't. I actually watched it in 2 sittings. Luckily, it's broken into like parts. So I was like, oh, this part ended. That shit was pretty boring. Pause, you know? But when the movie was over, I was like, masterpiece on my list. Uncut Gems, another one that was very much a crafts film. So like I very much, there are I guess some movies that I could watch for entertainment. Like I really want to watch Top Gun because I heard it was really good. And yeah, you know, that's something that I'll watch where I'm just going to have the popcorn and get amped up. And then there are other ones that, you know, I watch for different reasons now.
Interesting. I mean, I guess everyone watches with a different eye.
Yeah, what's funny is I'm also starting to watch YouTube like that. So it's even getting more weird.
I mean, yeah, today we were watching a video about how, like, what's his name? The dude from Acquisitions.
Yeah, Alex Hormozy.
Alex Hormozy is talking about how Chick-fil-A does business, basically. And
Super
Dale
bad.
was like, it was a great video. And Dale was like, you know, oh, do you see that like flame effect? And do you see like in 45 seconds they played 3 songs? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I haven't ever paid attention that way. But yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what happens now in general. So like now when I'm watching Mr. Beast, I'm thinking I'm looking for crafts because I'm not that driven by the plot of a lot of, it's like, okay, you spend a day in Antarctica. Like every video is going to be some shit like that, right? So, but I am like, how does this man craft his films to connect with? And again, the lessons aren't, because I'm not trying to connect with the broadest audience, but which he is very good at connecting with the broad audience. So, but you can still pull, because what you want to do is be able to have sort of broad appeal for your specific audience, if that makes sense, just to draw some people in. They may like it, right? You want to have that opportunity to show that to them. But yes, I definitely spend a lot of time now watching Mr. Beast videos and breaking them down.
That was a lot on the personal viewing side. What about work?
Work?
What happened this week?
What work?
What happened for you this week?
I don't remember. This week, things are slow on the commercial side. Normally, my weeks have events centered around something happening with a client.
That's true.
Yes. And because that hasn't really happened, I feel like you have been filling my schedule with so much more catch-ups and, housekeeping.
Yes, and that's not stopping. You have a few catch-ups coming up these next few weeks.
Woo-hoo. Again, reminder, everybody, I'm an INTJ. We're one of the more introverted types. And so she's doing the right thing, of course. But, so this week, former intern has been wanting to chat with me for a while. I got to speak with him. And he seems to be doing well. And he's a nice kid. So I think I was able to give him some good advice about what he should be thinking about as far as the next steps of his career, how to progress it. It was very nice to hear that he's taken some of the values at our company and is becoming, his words, not mine, known for his his reputation. He works for a news station in Ohio, is growing.
He's known for his reputation?
Yeah, he's garnering a good reputation.
Oh, okay. That's good.
For being for putting in effort, for being fast, and for learning quickly and stuff like that. And I know, he attributes a lot of that to some of the values that we instill in people. And this is his first job, and so he's already in a year. They're offering him new opportunities. We were talking about some of those things, pros and cons of it, because the opportunities might not be, the question is I guess for context, they're offering him opportunities to start filming stuff, right? And so he was saying, do I just laser focus in on editing, or is it possible that learning, getting out there, being on set, and filming some of these things is going to help me be a better editor? There's pros and cons to both. I think he's so young in his career that there is a lot of value in being, as we would say, proficient in all of these different tools so you can communicate effectively on your way to mastering the one thing you want to master. So, I think it could be good for him, but you don't want to end up having that sidetrack you from what your real goals are, right? We had a good conversation about that. Who else did you make me talk to? Matt. God. Yes. I caught up with a colleague from my NYU days. I haven't spoken to him in probably 12 to 14 years. Gentleman Matt Monahan out in Chicago. And I really enjoyed it. And I think mainly because he looked like he was doing well. And we had both had interesting careers. And we're both still doing it. And we both still like it, and we both still have fire. We both still are ready to grind and build things. And I think that was such a good feeling, because I've seen so much of the jaded, the blaming everybody else, et cetera, type of attitudes in my career.
I have to say, from my POV, it was one of the hardest meetings to break up to say like we need to go to our next meeting because it was so fired up and both of them were sharing so many experiences and it was so interesting and I didn't want to go either. It was cool to see someone else like saying the same things as you, having had the same experiences, having encountered the same road bumps in the ad world and anything production related. And yeah, that was cool. I was like, oh, yes. It's not just you.
Yeah,
it's real.
Yeah, right. Because a lot of the people here are younger that haven't necessarily had that much experience in ad agencies or other things where I've had my large stint as a freelancer across many different ones. And so, yeah, there are cultures and things that have stuck with me, good and bad, that I try to bring in here. And so when I say things to them, it's probably like when I end up predicting how a client's going to act and stuff like that, that they're just like, wow, and because it'll change. I'll either be super cynical. I'll be like, yo, they're going to be ready. They're going to like not like this. Or I'll say, nope, they're going to have, in other areas where they think it's going to be a big deal. I'm like, no, they're only going to care about this, so just do what you do here. They're only going to look there. We're going to be fine. And any of those kind of conversations, I feel they're always met with like a, oh, wow, like, the client whisperer type thing. And I'm just like, nah, man, I've just seen it 1,000 times. And so he has too. And we were, he's at a place, I think, where he's thinking about building a company himself. And I felt like I was in a good position to talk culturally, at least, about why culture does matter so much and like how it ends up causing business problems, of course. Because it's what your culture does is it basically gives the people there a framework for how they should be making decisions. Right. And so, of course, if you build a culture of fear, then they're going to be making fear-based choices, and that's going to kill your company. It'll never get off the ground. So I thought that was really fun, and I can't wait for us to chat again because I think we'll be talking more about what he wants to do, this conversation was just like, what was the last 12 years like for you, and less about like where we plan on going. And I know he has sold in and studied a lot of Web3, and obviously I'm starting to dig into AI, and so I feel like there could be a lot of fun conversations we'd have about the future. That was one that, it was definitely a little different than some of the other type of meetings I've been taking. And I would say the other highlights on my end are really just probably coming from the fact that things are starting. We're in the third week of the year. We're starting to pick up some momentum on projects. People are starting to get the hang of certain things. The Argentinian team is really starting to get their footing under the leadership of General Heather.
Oh my gosh, wait, I have to say, I just remembered I had a dream last night about this podcast where we were on it. And I was doing the podcast from my apartment. And I was doing it from my phone, and I was like at a really unflattering angle, like below my chin. And I think like we couldn't even like get through a conversation, and then you were just like, all right, bye. And then you just left the call. Like we had only talked for 10 minutes, and then Heather, our producer, sent a bunch of like emojis. It was so realistic. Anyway, I just remembered that. Sorry.
That team is starting to get their feet under them. And I would say that a highlight there has been our illustrator, Francisco. Just from a personality standpoint, this man is a happy man. I'll give you guys, I want to give a tip in general here that I'm starting to notice, which is, and it's hard to find this necessarily when you're in the hiring process, of course, because you got to really read in. But when you hire happy people, like, where they feel good about who they are in their lives, I really think there's something to say about that, because across the board, everybody has problems in their lives, of course. But across the board, we have people that generally give others the benefit of the doubt, want to help each other, and are just like generally more happy people, or people that they don't take everything so seriously. You know what I'm saying? Or too personally, I should say, because I take things quite seriously, but not necessarily personally. And I think that's made a big difference. And anyways, this guy, it's not like I asked him to, but usually I tell people, hey guys, in the morning, say good morning, like smile, like it matters to people. He's just coming in. I say good morning. He's like, good morning. And just like ready to draw.
He sang a song today.
No, that's my guy.
You don't remember? He went, no. Good morning, good morning.
Oh, I love
this
it.
morning, and it was great.
So, there is something to say about that. It just, when people are happy coming to work, I think it pulls you out of your zone and your bubble a little bit to make you realize, like, hey, yeah, why it is another morning. Right. Yeah, this guy's having a good day out there. Let's have a good day, I feel like there's a ripple effect. So definitely grateful for that. An unexpected sort of treat.
Not gonna lie, we like talk about that a lot, and you're always saying like, like, yay, everyone, like the people are generally happy. And because we talk about that so much, I mean, I think I'm a generally happy person. But because we talked about it so much, it's made me question. Now I'm always like, am I a happy person? Like everyone else, we're always talking about how everyone else is so happy. And I'm like, are they happier than I am? And as a result, am I not happy? And like, I've like gone down that rabbit hole so many times.
Don't do that, girl. Comparisons are the number one way. Yes. I think we talked about this in another episode about job jumping too. Like comparisons, you need to know yourself, man. Like, that's the thing. The question shouldn't be like, are they happier than me? The question should just be like, well, am I happy? Period. Because if you are, then you're chilling. You know what I'm saying?
No, I guess like I do ask that to myself, but then we're always talking about like how everyone else is happy. And like, I'm always so focused on everyone else's happiness at the company that like when I look back at myself, I'm like, oh, am I? I don't know. Oh, am I? That sounds so like sad, but I mean, I think I am, but I don't know. I do question it. I mean,
you pick at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is not to cause some crazy conversation or anything, but like that's the way that I look at it is ultimately I'm in control of how I perceive the world around me. So another meeting we had this week, our homeboy over at the Greenpoint Film Festival.
Oh yeah.
We got into a conversation because he heard the way that I was talking about, I don't remember what it was. It was probably about AI and just like how we're going to build this business with her. But I think for whatever reason, and this happens a lot to me, people think I'm a nihilist, like for whatever reason, like the tone I give off, And he's like, well, that's kind of a nihilistic view or something. And I was like, I'm an optimist, just so you know. I'm smiling and I'm pushing forward every day. Like, yes, I think ultimately, it is what it is. We're here. We go. We get to play the game, and I'm very fortunate that I get to play the game at least once. I don't know what's gonna happen after that, but I am so grateful for it that I get to live as many days as I have. That I look at it as an option. I could do nothing, or I could give it my all. And like if those are my options, like, why wouldn't I give it my all? It's going to be a lot more fun, I think. And so that's kind of my weird neo-nihilist output. Nothing has meaning, I feel like therefore you are the only thing that has meaning. Therefore, pick something and go.
That kind of goes back to like the effort thing where last week our branding coaches told us that we did so well, like that you did a good job on our value proposition worksheet. Like, and they were like, not everyone does it like that, but yeah, you're like, just put in the effort. So that's another installment of put in the effort. Yeah,
I guess so. Exactly. But in a very sort of weird philosophical way. But yes, that was also another big sort of conversation that we were having this week that makes me laugh. But I believe that's the best way to put it. I believe that I'm happy and I'm appreciative of everything that I have. And I believe that hopefully I can influence the company culture just a little bit in that direction. And I believe that does have an impact overall. And so now we're here with new people starting, facing new challenges. And it's been a week where those things, I think, are starting to come together. Our kids' book is deep in production. Writing is done. Character designs are mostly done. Artwork is being created. Color is happening. We already have an editor, my homegirl, shout out to Kim, who's, has two children and is an English teacher. She's editing the book, and it has been, familiar because I'm a storyteller, but new because I've never done a kid's book, right? And we chose a kid's book specifically because we thought it was a simple form of storytelling that we could learn to work with each other since it was our first project together. And then from here, we're going to jump into our webtoon. But I feel like what's happening, which is a nice thing, is like as we're making it, even though the purpose of making it is education, people I think are getting into it. And some people are like telling their friends, and they're like, that are saying that they think it would be pretty good. And hey, if people think it's good, we'll happily give them more. There's got a million.
I was saying that I was saying that my friends babysit a lot of kids, and this my friend said she was reading a kid's book to her. The kid just got so emotional and started crying because the story was so touching, and the kid was like, what the heck? But I mean, so imagine funny. Like we could reach that. Like it is like low-key touching and a great message. So I mean, that'd be awesome.
Regardless, it's the power of storytelling in general. You can do it. You can do it in a kid's book. You can do it in a TikTok. You can do it in a long-form YouTube video. You can do it in a movie, in a show, in a comic, in a novel. There's many ways to tell a story. And so that part I am excited about digging into. And I think this week was maybe the first week where it felt like work, which I actually think is good.
You didn't feel like work the past 2 weeks? I guess you were like onboarding and stuff.
Around.
It was like, I guess so.
It was more kind of like cool fun still, where I was like, wow, is this really happening? This week it was like, review this, review that, review this, check it off. Reviews. Yeah. Check it off, have the meeting, give the team. Yesterday, I was like, I remember you were on the call and I kicked you out of the room. You were on the call with the bank, and I was like, I'm starting a call right now. Get the F out, It was not, I didn't say
you kicked me out of the room. Yeah.
But it was literally because I was like, I have to give team morale right now. Like, they did good work, and they're new. They need to hear this. So I'm going to call them now. I'm going to make sure that they feel good about it. What was nice is they have, I guess, our producer already, but it might be the first time where maybe things kind of clicked because they already felt good about it. Like when I called them to say good job, they weren't like, they were like, that's right. We knew it. And I was like, oh, wow. Oh, that's a good sign if you can start to tell a little bit more, when it's getting good. That was fun. But yeah, it's been a lot of that this week. What was your week? What were you up to? I don't even think. Yet again, another week where
you don't know.
You know what though? You came in. We had our kind of half-assed writing session that we did.
Yeah, I mean, we had that writing session. It's funny, and we're preparing for our webtoon, and you had that draft of The World that I edited, and I think that's probably like the most creative thing I've done at the company in a while. And it's not even, it's just editing, writing, but it felt like a new part of my brain being used that I don't often use here. So it was fun. I hate writing, but I liked that. Like, it was brief. It was like 5 minutes, but
yeah, I mean, I think another part that's kind of fun, is very cringe though, is the fact that this story that we're going to be launching tentatively called Sidewalks is from when I was in college. It's, it's about the one that got away. And this time I took a trip to try to save our relationship and ended up getting stuck with her family for a week. So, it's kind of about that. But, of course, more exaggerated and stuff. And so I have so many documents from, I don't know, you saw it, 2010, 2011, 2012, something like that we're just pulling up because I have a pretty good grip on it now, but like, you never know. And I did find a couple of gems, reading through some of these character descriptions or what the world was, stuff that I had forgotten, like the interior of the house. I think there was like a couple of lines about how there's dog hair everywhere that I was like, oh yeah, let's definitely keep this stuff. So I think it's fun to have to sort of dig through that, and we're going to do it again very soon again, because now we're going to have to really start outlining the first few episodes, if that was how you felt during that.
Oh no, it was a lot of fun. It feels like a peek into your past. So it was really interesting seeing you, and you were around my age. like what your brain is
saying
at.
the same. That's what I've been trying to tell
Saying
everybody
the same
here.
thing. Yeah, it's very consistent.
You're going to definitely see parts of me, and then you're going to see the parts that I say, look, I know what it's like to be your age. I was there. And then I have these like super emo drafts of stuff that I'm like, I remember, you know? So yeah, it's pretty funny. So
That
yeah, we
was
did have
probably-
some time together.
Aside from that, I was just calling tax places and banks, and a lot of them didn't respond. So I swear I'm constantly doing something, and yet at the end of the week, I don't actually know. And because, unlike your schedule, it's not written into the calendar, it's hard for me to look back and know what I did. Also because everything that I do is always intercut with like people G-chatting me, asking me things. And so it takes me in like a million different directions. So I don't know what I did.
Maybe
but
you
I kept
should
the company
outline a
floating.
rough schedule for yourself, you know? Some direction when you get lost in the sauce, you know what I'm saying?
Most of my tasks are not repeatable tasks. That's why it's hard to have a schedule. I have some like, at this time do the finances or something, you know, but I have so many one-time tasks that it's pretty random.
It can be a little tough. And
I'm solving like time-sensitive problems.
I was going to say that too.
So
that you specifically deal with the urgent matter. So you can't kind of do what I do where basically I only look at emails before I go to lunch and at the end of the day and like first thing in the morning. That's it. Just to check.
Remember when that wasn't the case? Like now you can do that.
Yes, I do remember. Yeah. I know
A year
exactly
ago.
why I stopped that. Yeah. I stopped that because obviously I read enough books about stopping that, you know, like Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Work Week, for example. But I knew that would be one, like as soon as I could, I'd want to isolate myself to do work. Whatever that work was, focus on the meeting, focus on archiving, focus on the book, focus on whatever I had to focus on was going to be important because I can easily, as you know, hear a bling and then get completely derailed.
You got some personal, you got some work, you got some all of us being tired.
Yeah, I think it's like 20, this is episode 21 or 22. Still don't know how to segue. Still got to work on that. Yeah. So always something to learn. Why don't we go ahead and wrap this bad boy up? I will say, I think coming up, because I think it's going to be Oscar season soon, I'm sure we're going to be talking more about movies. We did not get into Everything Everywhere All at Once.
We'll save that. I'm going to go see that. I watched it like a few weeks ago, but I'm going to go see it in the theater with my mom because I was like, I think she'd like that. And I also want to see it in the theater because I didn't get to see that. So I'm watching that again this Sunday. So
bro,
I'm excited.
Takes you back.
To watching something multiple times?
Inception was maybe the last time I did that. I think I literally saw it 4 times. IMAX, regular.
That used to be my thing. Like, I love watching things over and over again. So.
That takes me back.
Wow.
I don't know do we have a pro tip? It is Frame.io. So this week, we started working with illustrations in Frame.io, which is a newer, we actually, obviously we do video. Really started to utilize the annotation tools. And I kind of want to remind people, if you guys use Frame.io or any kind of reviewing software that has these tools, that you can draw on it, you can point at it. And I felt like we were in meetings where I was, drawing arrows at things and highlighting things and drawing on the image. That was making things a lot easier to translate it to the Illustrator than I have. And I'm wondering if there's ways to do that in video. I guess usually I'm focusing on the edit, so I'm not really focusing necessarily on composition or like VFX, hey, can you paint this or that out? But it definitely was something I used this week more than any other. And it's really cool. Arrows, drawings. What I hope is that if I was on the iPad, I could use it with my pencil. That is what I hope that works. I'm going to test that. I mean, that'd be definitely a game changer when I'm like trying to explain, hey, make the upper lips more droopy on our Pitbull character. Hey, can you make the ears more floppy, et cetera, et cetera. It'd be nice to be able to either draw or insert something like that. So yeah, I think I asked you first last week, actually. Didn't I?
I don't know. Probably.
I think so, because
so
I
have to
remember you thought it was going to be, I asked you dogs or cats.
Oh, yeah. That was a good one.
Well, I had no idea. You took it to a place I was not ready for.
I love doing that.
There's a part of me that wants me to just tell you to use the chatbot,
I thought it's occupied.
Get our old friend ChatGPT to help homegirl out. It probably is.
What's the most significant lesson you've learned in life?
Really? That is... the most significant lesson, I'm not special, is the most significant lesson that I've learned. And yet again, if anybody actually is listening, I'm sure there's going to be all sorts of weird reactions to it, because every time I say that, people feel weird.
Why?
Because they always say something like, no, but you are special. You know, you're
well.
unique. And I'm like, dude, I'm not, and I'm glad. It's, you know, because what it means is that I'm just like all of you guys. That we're all essentially, you know, we're very, very similar creatures, which basically means that we can learn to take control of ourselves. That's why it's important.
And did you have one single moment that taught you that, or is it just like a compilation?
I mean, I think it's got to be because, like, for example, when I was in high school, you know, I went to a religious school, and so they kind of teach you that you have a meaning in this and that, right? When I used to be Catholic, so there's that. But in that same school, they also made us read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, which is incredibly powerful book about Viktor Frankl. You don't know this one, Grace?
Mm-mm.
I'll make it. This would be easily on our must-read list when we get there. Viktor Frankl was in the concentration camps and basically started a new philosophy, and it's very stoic. You know, he basically was saying the way that you survived was that you had to recognize that you're the one in control of how you feel. Like, no matter what they were doing to you, you ultimately still had your choice. And that's like how he survived. And that's after they burned, I think, his manuscripts of all of his work. Everything was gone, you know? I mean, the man had been through it. And so, yeah, it's a sort of a philosophy book, basically. And so, like, it's stuff like that kind of adds up, I think, over time. You know, that you sort of hear these stories and start to understand things. I would say another thing that's added to it is, like, I think I'm a bit of a control freak, you know? The thing that matters most to me in my life is that what I do matters. Not matters in the grand scheme of it, but that my choices are mine. Like, that I'm the one that can dictate and control my outcomes. That's a very, very important thing to me. And so, yet again, understanding that I'm not special allows me to then take advantage of all of the science and math and powerful tools that we have to engineer me to be what I want to be. Because if I was special and none of this stuff would work on me because for some reason I'm an outlier, right? Then there is no playbook there's nothing I can learn. I have to figure it all out. But instead, once I recognize, no, I'm just a human. So let me build habits like other humans build habits. Let me get some accountability partners like Grace's and make things happen. Like, it's funny. We started this podcast talking about working out. I did not want to work out today. I only worked out because of engineering, because I made it a habit, because I made it a thing I have to do in order for me to be a CEO, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's it. I wasn't smiling. I wasn't like, yay, more pull-ups. No, I was like, I'm not happy. I don't want to do this third set. I don't feel strength anymore. And then I just fucking tried to force it. And I, you know, with good form, I wasn't being sloppy for anybody listening. Like, obviously I know, you know, I have control, right, over what I'm doing. So that's it. It's actually the secret unlock of everything.
I feel like it allows one to let go.
Maybe other people would, maybe a better word for some people would be like being humble, like, you know, but like, I don't look at it that way. I just look at it as literally, there's nothing unique or special about me. I'm just like everybody else on the planet, can be manipulated by the same things, can take advantage of the same powerful things that all other humans can. And I'm just going to put the work in. That's it. So yes, wow. That ended up being somewhat interesting. And yeah, I think it would be a combination of many things. There's no one moment. What value do you find most attractive in the opposite sex?
Off the top of my head, what's coming to me is like someone who knows how to take care of themselves. And like prioritize themselves.
Okay,
Yeah.
Do you mean that in a
health
mind or
and
body?
mind and body.
If we're thinking long term, you know, someone that I would commit very deeply to, care about wanting to eat well and sleep well and exercise, kind of have that lifestyle in mind, I don't think it would ultimately work out.
When I meet someone and they're like, I'm going to sleep early, that like really excites me. I'm like, oh, you're going to sleep at 10 too? I hate like having to, you know, if you're like, if I'm in like a talking phase with someone and like staying up until 3 a.m. because that's when they go to sleep. And I mean, to each their own. Some people, you know, have that circadian rhythm. I'm like, I have the body that's early bird naturally. So, I mean, you know, some people have the night owl body clock naturally. So, I mean, I'm not going to say anything about that, but
I mean, like,
yeah,
I would say this because like,
Huh.
I do have the late,
Yeah.
I do have a naturally later,
circadian rhythm, but you commit to sleeping earlier. Yeah.
And like, again, so no matter what, whether my partner did or didn't, it's like at a certain point to lead the kind of life that I want to lead and to leave the kind of impact that I want, they would have to complement, right? And help that thing flourish because it's so meaningful to me rather than create friction for it, which I think at this point, because of perhaps somewhat extreme of the choices that I'm making, you know, I think it's going to be rarer.
Yeah.
So it's gonna, you know, that's definitely interesting.
I didn't think that would be, because I have other things that I normally say, but that like popped into my head right away.
Yeah. It's
maybe because of my state today, because I'm a little
now
queasy
y'all know.
today.
Leave notes in the chat. The earliest person, the person who gets to bed the earliest, is gonna win Grace's heart.
It's not that hard.
Comment below. Yeah,
mean,
what time
actually,
you go to bed. And we'll see
so
how
funny.
it goes. Dude, you should do an OnlyFans, and it should be the most wholesome OnlyFans on the planet of like,
it's like
you
bedtime.
know, just going
Get
to
ready
bed
for
at
bed with
8:30.
me. Yeah.
It's like very, yeah, it's yes.
Like brushing
you know?
my teeth together.
It's like typical OnlyFans where it's like bedroom shots, but really it's like a perfectly made bed and like you're just like snuggled in. Like, I bet you'd make a killing.
Oh my gosh, that's I would do that. That's something I'd be down for.
Let us know.
That's sick.
And I swear to you, I'll get it going. I'll put all of my juices, creative energy towards it. Okay. Well, that does it for another week. Still going. Never going to stop. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll catch up with you next time. Work hard. Be nice. And as always, keep changing. Thank you guys so much for listening. Bye-bye.